Hello, Virgo. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor. And tonight, I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. Well, I want to thank you, Virgo, for being here with me. It is always such a wonderful pleasure, such a great honor to be able to bring these messages to you. I'm just going to get it out the way. If you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you have a prayer request, I'd absolutely be so happy to pray for you, to pray with you, to share some time and energies with you. So put those in the comments. Or you can email me at ulaishere@gmail.com. So we have the hermit energy, Virgo. Kind of our natural place. People don't often think of us as, and I say us, I'm a Virgo, through and through. They don't think of us as people that are like fairly introverted, I would say. Oftentimes, homebodies. I mean, that makes sense, right? Living in that earth element, building up your little universe. That fortified place, that four of discs energy, right? But the hermit. When we come into this energy, it's like we are arriving home. We spend so much time in our heads anyways, don't we? We're planning, we're figuring it out, we're tinkering, troubleshooting, building systems, operating systems. We're really good at these kinds of things. I never wanted to go into any kind of management, but when I had a child, right, and I had this family, for the first time I had people to really take care of, to really, have a more complex household with so many more variables. And when you have a kid, it gets much more complicated and not necessarily bad, not necessarily even better. I mean, having a kid, is wonderful, of course. But what I'm really looking at here is like, how do we run our households, our routines, our schedules? That's the big one, right? Our schedules. We're great at scheduling. We're great at keeping things organized, running, knowing all those fine, silly little details that nobody else remembers, being able to anticipate, and so on and so forth. And it can be tiring. It can be overwhelming as a Virgo. Our minds never stop. We're always figuring out how we can kind of reform our life to make it better, adjust things. And so when the hermit mode comes in, I feel like this is a time where we're reassessing. We're really looking at our lives. There is a sense of clarity that only comes with kind of going your own way for a while. Now, I'm not saying full isolation. I'm not saying you have to fully alienate yourself. You could be among people. You probably are. But you are dwelling in your head, in your interior, more than usual. Okay? And this feels like our superpower, honestly. Okay, let's see. What are these tea leaves gonna say today, dearest Virgo? And I hope everybody's doing well. The summer, the winter starting to wrap itself up. Starting to get the yard ready to get put away. All the things. Now we have the number, what what was I going to say? 162, it looks like. 162, and you can see those up here. And we also have the ladybug. You can see right here. And it looks like a cute cartoon, right? Here's the head, kind of standing up in a humanoid position. The body here, there's a little antennae right here. I don't know. Do ladybugs have antennae? I can't think of. I feel like they don't. I'm sure there's some around the house here. We always get tons of them out in the country here. Now we also have a traveler. We have somebody kind of on a hero's quest. Now the ladybug always makes me think of that awful song or rhyme. And it's, what is it? Ladybug, ladybug, fly away home. Your children are hungry. And something, I forget. But it's like, it even hits different saying it now. As a parent, I don't think I've thought of that since before I had a kid. But the sense of urgency, suddenly you receive news, something's going on at home, your kids, are, looking for you, they're wanting for you, something. That's not what I think is going on. Like, that's just on the nose. Overtly there's something with your children happening. No, I feel like what it is that moment where you're going about your day, you're working, you're immersed in whatever's happening, and then suddenly there is this thought, I better call home. I think I want to go home now. I want to be with my kids. I want to, there's a feeling of being pulled towards the center. Right? Back in, getting this, maybe you've been wandering a bit, right? Maybe you have been out there in your creative spheres. Maybe you have been super into work. Maybe this last season has been all about building up the next thing, and you are just completely focused. Nobody's ever said a Virgo is incapable of obsession. In fact, we maybe invented it. Maybe Scorpio, I don't know. But I do feel like, there's this sense of like, okay, there's an urgency here. Time is short. Something is changing. And it's not necessarily something that you are willing to sit by and just watch it happen. This is something that you want to take an active role in, right? It's not something you're just like, I'm going with the flow. I'm following the current. I'm a leaf on a vast river, and it is taking me with it. Nah. This is like, dude, something happened. I'm putting my feet down in the water. I'm catching myself. I'm getting out this thing, and I am, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. So, a Virgo is not really good. We're not really good at just sitting by. We're not. Whatever it is that you have going on, maybe you are really super in parent mode. Maybe you're in grandparent mode. Maybe this is all about, you got this management job. You're, learning how to run a department, or, maybe you are in some kind of club and they, re-voted on who has different roles, and now you're in a leadership role and this is kind of new to you, or whatever it is. But I do feel like there is a sense of taking power, and not just in self, right? I think that this is like you are feeling comfortable enough where you can just express the way that you feel, where, a lot of times, Virgo, we'll go into a situation and we're really good at like kind of sizing things up, right? Like you go into, like for me, I have a daughter, she's 5, right? And she's in all these activities. And I go into each activity, each group of people, each thing, because, she's still young, so we're still at that age where, yeah, we sit through all of the things. We watch her do her, her sports and her dances and all this stuff. It's not just drop off and leave. So when I walk in, I can start to see the dynamic of, like, who are the cliques, who's kind of the dominant parents, who are kind of calling the shots here, who's been here longer, who feels super, in the flow of things. And, just as a Virgo, we're really good at, like, walking in and seeing how this all works. Who, like, what are the politics here? What is the shared schema, what is the kind of feeling and vibe, and so we go into these things as Virgos and we start already figuring out, like, how do we navigate this? It's also like that common thing that you hear about, like, oh, you're going to get locked up or whatever, like long term. Right? I'm not talking like county or whatever, although county sounds way worse. But, you're going away for a little bit. And this is like the stereotype. I've never been, so I don't know. I'm just going off of, whatever. Idle conversation with people over the years and watching TV, right? But you got to go in and you got to punk somebody down. You have to show you're not going to get taken. Right? Everybody could get touched. Everybody's fair game. But you have to prove yourself. You have to show, like, I'm not going to get rolled over. So as Virgos, we know there's a role to play. Everywhere we go, there's a role to play. And you know what? We live in a weird world now where people, like, don't want to... like if something is not smoothly and seamlessly, like, oh yeah, that's who they are all the time. They stay the same person all the time. They're very consistent in how, their demeanor is, the way that they speak and present themselves and this and that. Boring. So boring. Sorry, guys. Boring. I mean, why am I saying sorry to Virgo? We know. Honey, we might be shapeshifters. I don't care what nobody says. We become what we must. We are children of, let's say it together, Mercury. Fluid. Changing. We're also really good at stealth, if we want to be. What is that? Hiding among. We have that camo, baby. We're really good at lowering our auras. That's why we're the cutoff game. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay, now, here's the deal. All of this said, hermit mode. Why? We have the siren. Right here, the mermaid. And you can see that tail. You can see that chaos. Look at those horns. So we have a fairly chaotic person that came into your life. Probably felt really refreshing because they're different. Maybe a little rebellious, maybe woke you up, right? Once in a while we get into our little slumbers, don't we? Oh, all of a sudden I'm attracted to somebody. Oh, all of a sudden there's romance in my life again. Oh, all of a sudden there's somebody who's interested in the same things as I am, and we can talk about them, we can hang out, we can do these activities together, all this stuff, and it feels perfect. It feels like heaven sent, like the sky opened up and put this person in your life. I don't care if it's romantic, if it is a friendship. There's heartbreak here. Now, we're not naive about people. We're not silly and think, oh, nobody could hurt us. Or, oh, this person has pure intentions. They're an absolute angelic being. They'd never hurt me. Quite the opposite. I think as Virgos, we're very, like, in the mode of everybody has the potential to do wrong, evil, bad stuff to each other, right? So you got to do the reverse here. We got to reverse engine this thing, or engineer this thing, right? You got to show me that you can be good, because I know you're all bad, all of you. I'm just kidding. But you know, that's the feeling. Like, you have to earn my trust. We don't just give you my trust from the jump and let you tarnish it. Nah. You have to earn my trust. I don't trust you off the bat. And that's true of everybody. No offense to anybody. Not trying to hurt your feelings. But you are a Virgo. You get it. People be grimy. People do sick stuff. People are selfish and thoughtless. And oftentimes the worst part about it all is it's not even malicious. It's just careless. It's just thoughtless. It's just, oh, well, I didn't really think about how that would make you feel. Oh, I didn't think you'd care. I thought this was, whatever. And I didn't think that you would be interested in knowing about it. I just made this decision myself. It affects everybody's lives. But I didn't talk to you about it. Ooh. What worse thing could you say to a Virgo? Listen. There's some bad things in life, right? But not communicating or attempting to. Please, just communicate poorly. You know what I mean? Like, better than nothing. So I do feel like this person was in your life and something happened. They did something. I know it wasn't you. You're a perfect little beautiful angel. I know you, Virgo. I know that it wasn't your fault. I know that this person just absolutely, I have to wonder, were you dating a Gemini or something? I don't know. Maybe a Virgo, or not a Virgo. Ugh. Listen, if you're a Virgo that is with a Virgo, please let me know. My husband is a Cancer, but he has some really prominent Virgo placements, and phew, thankfully they're in areas that make sense for us. But dating a Virgo, I don't think I could do it. Honestly, I love you guys, but I don't think I could do it. Yeah, that blew my mind thinking about that. No, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. Definitely not a September Virgo. Sorry, you guys. I'm an August Virgo. I would have to stick with the August people. We're a certain kind of crazy, right? That we might complement each other, or we might get in a lot of trouble. So anyways, I do feel that there is a sense of, and this one is going to be kind of silly, but we have a person here holding, and to me it looks like a child. And I'm trying to figure out, it looks like to me almost like there's a pile of something and a person kind of lounging beneath. I almost feel like playing. There's like a sense of play between the two of you. I almost feel like it's like you met this person, they did something, right? Whatever it was, lied, cheated, stole, just generally had bad taste and stuff. I don't know. That's another big thing. Gosh, we're really kind of snobby people, I have to say. I'm sorry, I'm claiming it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it just happens to be me, and because I'm a Virgo, right? But I almost kind of feel like this situation, and now I'm wondering if this is like an older thing, but it was like one of those anchor points in your life where you're like, okay, now I know I will never, ever deal with anybody again that reminds me of this person, right? You're just off of them. It's like you got food poisoning, you like, never again am I eating whatever, insert whatever it is. But yeah, I think that you're just kind of like off it. You're off this person, and you return back to the source of what? The center of your life. Going back to the center, not wandering off into these, well, it's like, we're talking, we're walking, we're squirrel, right? Let's go see where the squirrel is. Let's follow it. Let's see what it's doing. I know, you're probably like, yeah, that sounds cool. That's because we're Virgos. We're distracted easily. So I feel like you've been on a walkabout a little bit, and maybe it's a friendship, maybe it was a romance, maybe it was a little dalliance or flirtation or whatever. But I see you coming back to center. I see you returning to where you want to be. And I think that's very family oriented. I also happen to think the child in this is you. I really feel like we're in a place, Virgo, where we're very focused on healing self. I think that a lot of us are deeply involved in individuation, shadow work. Getting into that place where we understand ourselves more deeply. We can maybe get some of those blockages out and get, things flowing once more. So I do feel like you are in a renewal point. I think that you have a close enough memory of being kind of, messed up by somebody, really feeling deep pain. And also, here's the thing, and maybe the most egregious part of it all, is that this person really made you feel like you couldn't trust yourself. And what a terrible feeling that is, to think, gosh, did I just have like really bad judgment about this, or were they kind of malicious, or, is this like a full up con artist, or is this somebody that's like, like a sociopath or something? Is this a person that like seeks people out so they can hurt them? Emotionally, financially, spiritually, whatever. A bit of, I don't know, like a succubus, an incubus, a vampire, if you will. And so I feel like you're completely over it. But listen, we're also Virgos. Like, we walk away from love and we say, baby, I'm done with you. You hear me? Amor, you hear me? Eros? You hear me, Cupid? I'm done with you, baby. Hey, babe, I'm done with you. No. The freaking breeze changes, right? And all of a sudden you're enamored again. Maybe not with a person. I mean, it could be anything, right? Whatever it is that you are currently into, obsessed with. For me, gardening, of course. This is my season. Birds, of course. But also, I don't know. I just am going hard. And anything about like, quantum things. I cannot understand most of it. But I'm that's my current thing. The rabbit hole of YouTube quantum theory videos, endless amounts of them. A few months ago, it was I was obsessed with the like voids, the massive voids in the universe, right? Between big clusters of galaxies and things like that. So anyways, yeah, sometimes we have to get rid of these stinky people, these terribly predatory people, these, well, just careless people. You know, people that don't think about other people, right? They don't think about how they affect others. You know, and listen, we all have varying degrees of these kind of social understandings or agreements or, you know, just behavior. How are we supposed to treat each other and all of that? So, you know, sometimes we have to be honest and realistic about, like, listen, we're out here. It's, you know, a spectrum of how people live, how they interact, you know, what their conditioning is, what their culture is, what their, you know, just predispositions are. You know, I have no qualms with sharing, and I have quite often that I am neurodivergent on at least 3 counts, you know, which is ADHD, autism, and CPTSD. I'm constantly mind blown when I realize or I see something and it diverges from how I experience the world. And I think, oh my gosh, I know this, and I know this deeply, but like, people don't all think the same way I do. People don't all have the same kind of experiences. Like, I have a very visual inner world. So as I'm talking to you and I'm getting like messages and stuff, I can see imagery in my head, you know. Sometimes, and we'll get into this here in a minute, maybe I'll do a little looking for you. But sometimes it's like going into a room in my head, right? And this is partly because I've built up like some technique kind of taken from the memory palace or the art of memory. And so you walk into a room in your mind, you can visualize a room, right? You walk in there and you start looking around. And oftentimes the things that show themselves to me, the things that I stop and notice, these are things that want me to talk, you know, tell them this, show them this, you know. So I want to kind of look for a second. I want to kind of see if we can look in here, because it does feel like, now we have the home, and this is here. Here, let me see if I can lift this up. We have the home right here. Okay. Now we also have division. Okay, so there has been a certain amount of division, and it is coming through in messages. So I'm wondering if there is like some kind of like internal, like a family civil war happening, a friends group kind of disharmony, but there seems to be kind of a bickering happening, a division in sides, and you know, the feathers are ruffled and all this kind of thing. And now I'm going to go in. I'm going to look and see. So the first thing I see is a feather, and it reminds me very much of like maybe a feather from a hawk. It's long. It's a little stripy. And so the hawk represents the high flying birds, right? These raptors that fly over everything. They have such a vast perception of things, perspective. And so this tells me that there's an opportunity here to kind of step back and not be devil's advocate so much as I feel that you are not taking sides. And that's another thing about us Virgos, is we don't often align ourselves with things unless, you know, it's very cut and dry or there's no question. right? Like if my husband were out in public or something and he would never get in an argument with anybody. If anybody is, it's me. But like say he got in an argument with some person out in the world and whatever. I don't care if this fool is wrong. I don't care if he's talking out his neck. I don't care if he is the one instigating, gone full wildly whatever. I have his back. I don't even care. I don't care what happened, what he said, what he did. I have his back until, right, we can talk about it privately. But yeah, there's no question. Straight up, always, I will have my husband's back, period. Same with my daughter, okay? So sometimes there are things like this, unwavering. But us as Virgos, generally, we're really good at being like, well, there's this one part, and also, you kind of got to also consider people don't love this about us at all. Excuse me, hang on. I have to say, I don't want this to be true, but I feel like I'm getting my first, something of the season. As soon as school starts, it's just, I'll tell you, this season, I really hope, I've been working on my immune system to get ready for it, but it's also the smoke. There's been so much smoke, so my sinuses are wild. Anyways, yeah, we're really good. People don't like the fact that we can look at things from multiple angles, and that we're willing to change our minds. We're willing to hear everybody's side. So, I'm looking, and here you might see me doing this a lot. This, I don't know. It's a grounding thing, I think. It's also stimming. One of my stimming things. I like to. There was a grandfather or an uncle, an older masculine person, and I keep seeing an oil can or something, like an old school one. And it feels like this is a person that was, oh my gosh, safe, loving. I feel like they worked in the shed or the garage a lot, maybe at cars or building stuff, an engineer possibly, like to tinker, but also stayed away from the house. I mean, being in the middle of things. I think you come from a family that did things got together for, dinner, before temple, or Sunday dinners, or, there might have been some religious or cultural context to the reason to getting, to celebrate together, to break fast together. But it feels like the heat, the heart of this family. It's loud and laughing and not yelling or anything crazy. But yeah, being in moments of turmoil, right, with one another. And then there's this masculine person we're talking about. And I feel like they were always kind of on the outskirts of the family. The family's in the house, in the living room, in the kitchen, or the TV's on, making food for everybody. Grandma's, knitting, and mom is, telling, set the table, and your cousins, are fighting over your older brother's video game or whatever, right? There's just this feeling of life and busyness, and then there's this person who's kind of out on the outskirts, out in the, it's a holiday and they're out in the garage working on the car, and everybody's like, well, they don't like us or whatever. But I think I think it's an anxiety thing, probably. Being introverted, But I also think that, like, this person, their ability to just dwell in the way that they needed to be, like, no apologies ever about it. They showed up and they would do above and beyond, supporting the family, doing all the things, remembering people's birthdays, like building toys for the kids, whatever. But couldn't necessarily always play that overt role of being like the doting grandfather at the soccer game among all the people, talking to the other parents and stuff. That was not them. But I feel like for you, this was the safest, most loving person in your younger years. And I feel like they are coming through so potently right now in your life. And I think you've been thinking about them a lot. And I think that, you can just feel them everywhere in your quiet moments. This person is kind of just there, right? And I feel like you're recognizing in yourself that you have taken on a lot of the similar qualities. And that, I think, is a true blessing. Honestly, I think that's a true blessing. And in these moments where, I feel like there's some division in your family. You are kind of excusing yourself from the situation in a lot of ways. And I think that you're just really focused on developing your own thing, right? Getting your life, going in this new direction. And that's okay, because I think the family stuff will pass, as it always does. Number 9, one of the most holy numbers. Number 9. Number 40. 9, 40, and 75. Fantastic. All right. And let's go ahead. We're going to finish with our wild offering oracle deck here. Okay. And I'm just going to flip through, stop where it feels right. Courage. Divine courage is not the absence of fear, but a nudge that says, keep going, do it, don't worry, all will be well. You have to get quiet enough to hear it. Dear Divine, may I feel your courage and your will. May I feel your courage and your will. Well. Sometimes things just sound weird, right? All right. Virgo, I love you. I love you. I love you. You know that. I hope you do. Thank you so much for being here. It's always such a great privilege, honor. I love communing with you all. If you want to like, subscribe, or leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. If you have a prayer request, please put it in the comments, or you can email it to ulaishere@gmail.com. I get lots of prayer requests in my emails. Sometimes I get back to the emails. Sometimes I don't. But that doesn't mean I haven't prayed for you. I set a boundary with myself, I don't know, maybe the second year I was doing this thing, starting this channel, and told myself I am only answering like about 5 messages a day, emails a day, for work, right? And that's, that's just because I get fatigued from, communing with people. I mean, I'm just being honest. I also have a really busy family life and business. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So anyways, I don't get to all the emails, but I still, absolutely, I read all of them word for word. And so if you don't hear back from me immediately, or even if it takes a few weeks, sometimes it does. Sometimes I will, there are so many times where I will remember an email for days and weeks. I will even dream about people and stuff, and finally get to loop back around to it. So if you hear from me and you're like, who the heck is this, right? You like, you watch a reading and you send an email, you fully forget about it. I've totally done this myself. And then you hear back from the person like 3 months later and you're like, who is this? What are they talking about? So, yeah, sometimes that happens. Don't be surprised. But anyways, I love you, Virgo. Oh my gosh, our season is coming. My birthday is next week. I hope that if you are having a birthday coming up here right at the beginning of Virgo season, I hope that you have the most wonderful Virgo birthday, Virgo rising. But also, you know, just please be safe. I don't know, the world is wild lately. Things feel, surreal. So let's just take care of each other. Take care of yourself. I love you. Be safe. Good night.